Welcome back. I wish we could come here with better news. We gotta talk about it. We'll have some stuff to talk about with the game before Austin, with the Red Bulls game from Saturday, and we'll talk a little bit about Minnesota. But we are happy to welcome, along with Abram, Saz, and myself today, Twan. So, how are you doing, Twan?
I'm trying to do better. Obviously, that game was probably not what all of us expected. You know, some background things happened between Austin and the referee, but nothing official. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. I was here a couple weeks ago, but that recording, failure. Unfortunate, but hopefully this one doesn't get corrupted. Yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that one. Um, and yeah, let's just check on how everyone else is doing because I know that we all saw the game. We were either at the game or we watched it, and regardless of how you followed along the game, you're just in disbelief. How are we doing now, though, Saz?
I have definitely been falling out of love with the game of soccer over the last couple years, and tonight was another big yeah, this is why.
Wow.
So yeah, that'd be my take on it. I mean, it's not like I'm watching the rest of the season and being like, oh, what's the point? Because that really was how it used to be. Um, I would say, sorry, let me put my phone on do not disturb. I would say it's a little different because like, oh yeah, we have playoffs this that, and that, but yeah, man, that was just such a gut punch, and we'll go more into the referee later, but it was tough.
Abram?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't end up getting to go to the game. I was just so far away from San Jose by the time I ended my shift. So I was like, it's not worth it. It's really tough. And then I'm kind of glad I didn't go because I might have gone in a fight. At that point. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it would have been a really rough night for me. Adding on to an already rough night, like not just having to experience that being robbed, but also like having to drive home after that would have been really rough. So I'm glad I was here already with all my like video games and stuff to calm me down. And obviously with the Quakes fam on Discord and stuff, we all got to go through it together, which is probably the only positive we could take from that night.
For me, what comes up must come down. Unfortunately, the price of getting far into a cup competition is that, yeah, 8 teams make it to the quarterfinals, but 7 teams are still going to be disappointed when they inevitably leave the competition. I did not expect to be this disappointed, and for this reason. Normally, we could look at a few players and think, oh, this is egregious marking, tactical issues, and it wasn't a perfect performance. Of course not. The big thing that stands out, of course, is we conceded 2 penalties, and I'm of the belief that usually referees will find reasons to not give out more than 1 penalty per team in a game. So whenever 2 is given to a specific team, something had gone wrong. And then at the penalty shootout, Austin made all of theirs. The Quakes didn't. Sometimes that's all it takes. But it's not about that. It's about the fact that it got to penalties to begin with. It's the fact that, sure, Austin got those calls in their favor, justifiably so. What about the calls that the Quakes didn't get? And there's just a lot of issues in previous games, too. We could talk about the Bruno Wilson red card last season against Portland. We could talk about another incident involving New York against Portland this season. Even this past game against the New York Red Bulls with DeJuan Jones, and he's still going to be suspended for the Minnesota game this coming Saturday. So that's a transition into our thoughts that still linger from that Saturday's game. It feels insignificant compared to everything that unfolded in the U.S. Open Cup game, but Abram, what are your thoughts now with the point that we got in that game reduced to 10 players? Now we just have to focus on the MLS season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a slight benefit to that, right? We had a very congested schedule in May, and some of that was because of the Open Cup. Obviously, it's not worth it, and I can't say like, oh, good, we lost, and now we can focus on this. But then again, Bruce, the promise he made was that we would make the playoffs, and he didn't promise that we'd win the Open Cup. So you could say that things are still going according to plan for him, but no, it's terrible to go out like that. But we had a lot of injuries, and this could be one of those things that alleviates some of the load. If you're asking me to look find positives, that's what I could say is that the players might be safer playing less games, but no, it's not a great position to be in.
Was there anything about the Red Bulls game specifically that you wanted to talk about before we focus on Austin for the bulk of this episode?
I'm really struggling to remember anything about that Red Bulls game. I just that's not on my mind. I was just so frustrated, so angry last night. I felt like so much emotion, just like seeing this happen in front of me and not being able to do anything about it. I honestly I could look it up. I don't know. I have no idea what happened in that Red Bull game. I'm sorry. I just don't have any analysis about that.
That's all right. That's totally valid. It's just the completion aspect of this type of podcast. And we want to acknowledge that it did happen in, 1-1 scoreline. Emil Forsberg with his goal, and San Jose Earthquakes fighting for their lives once again with a red card situation. And then maybe that's another broader theme that we can look into as we move forward. But again, I'll extend the opportunity to Tuan and then Saz after if there's anything that stood out from that Red Bull game before we focus on Austin.
Yeah, I now remember a little bit. I remember that goal that Emil Forsberg. I looked it up in that short time. That goal that Emil Forsberg scored was really self-inflicted is hard, but we could have prevented that. That was totally preventable. We should have won that game. My uncle used to say that this team didn't win, this team lost, right? And so I feel like the Earthquakes lost that game. The New York Red Bulls just happened to be there, but we tied, so we didn't lose, but it felt like a loss, big time.
Tuan and then Saz.
I like Abraham don't really remember. I mean, well, he just suddenly remembered something, but I don't really remember much. We drew. I mean, there's nothing to celebrate about a draw. You should never celebrate a draw. Saz.
That was so funny because he was like, it was so perfect between like, all right, Tuan, do you have anything to say? And everyone's like, yeah, actually. No, I think you guys pretty much summed it up. I wasn't even at the game. I went to the Oakland Roots game to go see Matt Sheldon, who I've been trying to watch play for like 10 years. I got to talk to him after the game, so that was sick. I'll kind of send a transition segue over to the Austin game. I think Abram brought up a really good point of like Bruce promising playoffs. And what I had said after like just being in shock after the game, if you told me at the beginning of the season playoffs and a deep Open Cup run, I would have said thank you, yes, shake the deal, deal's a deal. And I think if you just look at it, we would have been happy with the quarterfinal that went to penalties. It's just the way it went feels so like it's just such a gut punch, and I think that's what hurts us so much. And then onto Ivan's point about they made penalties, because like even the people are gonna say like, oh, he was off the line. He was off the line for Chicho's. Chicho's was he could have been 3 feet back. Chicho took an awful penalty at the end of the day, and let's say Chicho didn't. He retakes it. He scores a banger. Austin's first 2 penalties were top bins. It was psychopaths, by the way. After 120 minutes of playing, going for a top bin, absolutely, like they need to be checked mentally. All theirs were great, and we missed another one. DeJuan Jones, I believe, also missed one. So we would have took one more and one more, and at that rate, we would have lost as well. But that doesn't excuse also the referee, and again, we'll get more into that now. But I think that my transition over to the Austin game.
Yeah, let's work our way back. Well, we might as well talk about the penalty shootout. Normally, this would be the most consequential moment in a cup match if that goes to penalties, but all the events leading up to it are probably the bigger headlines. But for those keeping track at home, Arango, first step for the Quakes, not a good penalty. And with Arango overall, I think that his goal that he did score was so good that it just about leveled out his performance. That even though he was active, even though he was aggressive, it was like an average performance because he missed some other bad opportunities in the game. So highs and lows for Arango. He was like the story before the ref started refing or later on in the game. Diego Rubio, he gives Austin a good start, so they're 1-0 up after one round. Martinez, though, stepping up for the second penalty. So our two best attackers that were available because Espinoza was injured, stepping up for those early penalties. We like to see that, and Martinez made his penalty. Uzuni does as Rubio did. It was essentially a similar penalty, 2-1. The two fans on the far end with the Albanian flag, I'm sure, were very happy about that made penalty. Then, third round, Daewon Jones. I wasn't really impressed by that effort. I think it was very central. Brad Stuver had no problems with Daewon Jones' penalty, easy save. And then Robert Taylor. He pretty much sent Daniel the wrong way, 3-1. Ian Harkes barely kept Quakes in it. I mean, it was a good penalty, but at that point, Quakes were about to be eliminated, and Owen Wolff did just that. So 4-for-4 for Austin, 2-for-4 for the Quakes. That's just not going to get it done in most penalty shootouts, but that was not even probably the top 5 of the most frustrating moments of that match. So I guess we can...
I'd like to add one thing to that penalty shootout. I'm sure we'll circle back to it. The biggest blue balls moment of the game was we were like talking amongst ourselves because I stand by the supporter section over by the bar with the fault liners. We were talking like, where are the penalties going to be? And I said, if they are in front of me, I will be sick to my stomach, but that would be so cool. Like, I want it in front of me. But then we agreed as a group. Crystal brought up a great point. She said she actually would prefer it over by the Ultras because the way the stadium's built, when you like beat a drum or make noise over there, it echoes and it carries better versus over on our section since we don't have a wall. It's just open, so it's not as loud. So we were like hoping to go over there, but then Brad Stuver starts running over. Looks like Daniel's walking over, and a bunch of them are facing our direction. So we're like, oh, they lost the toss. Austin wants it over here by their fans. So I'm like, everyone get flags up. I grab the megaphone. I'm telling everyone on the sides to get in. I'm like, support the fucking team. But I'm giving the biggest rally cry, end of the movie speech you have ever seen, and my blood is pumping. I turn around. Stuver grabs his water bottle and sprints to the other section. Now that I've convinced like 100 people to come over here, I'm like, I grab the microphone again. I'm like, my bad, y'all. I apologize. They switched sides. So that was already a bad start to the penalties.
That's very unfortunate, Seth. But I would have done the same thing in your position. You have to.
No,
Yeah,
Saz,
another thing I did during the game was when we went up 2-1. I forget the kid's name. He's so nice. He's one of the ball. He's like the head ball boy. I don't know his actual position, but he like controls all the boy. He's like the nicest kid. And I pull him over and I yell at the ball boy on the left and the ball girl on the left, and I just go like, time. I told him to go tell him like, you tell them to waste time every second you get. And they both give me a thumbs up. And the very next play, the guy gets the ball instead of handing it to Stuver, throws it at the girl, and then the girl gets both balls and then fumbles them both. And then they're like both pretending to like try and find the ball. I was dying laughing.
I wanted to say, Saz, I get what you mean by like feeling sick, cause I sit like on the left side of the Ultras, like that little standing spot, and yeah, I was sick to my stomach as it was terrible witnessing that like 5 feet away from you. Just...
Man, I was here. The same exact spot, sick to my stomach, just the same as you guys.
I think for me, it wasn't even like oh god, I can't handle this. It's the same exact thing I said in the Portland game. One of the staff came up to me and they're like, oh, hope this one doesn't go to OT. I'm like, yeah, it's a weekday, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if we lose, we lose, right? Like, we said it'd be a cup, whatever. It's the fact we took it this long. It's like, when it gets to a certain point in overtime, it's like, oh my god, the fact that we've fought this long and to now lose, that's awful. Like, that would be awful. And then it's like, oh my god, now we're in penalties. Also, I feel like, Ivan, you might be the man to know the stats on this. Are we like 0-7 in our last penalty shootouts? Like, We might have. We won one with Matt Bersano when he scored the winner. We lost once, or I think we lost twice in playoffs, and then we lost this one. So like one of four, and I think we lost the one or two before that. So that'd make it like one of 5 or 6. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's roughly the math I feel.
Did we go into penalties in the Leagues Cup last year, or was it like Chivas and LA Galaxy?
Yeah, Chivas.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. So there was that. This isn't the first time we've done penalties in PayPal Park. Because I know some of those other penalty shootouts, like on the road against Sporting Kansas City, that obviously wasn't in San Jose. But yeah, we do not have a really good track record of penalties. In fact, I feel like most of my teams suck at penalties. So the fact that earlier in the Gold Cup, USA beat Costa Rica in penalties, I thought, Quakes, please don't let this get to penalties. I think we used up all our penalty luck for the month.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, I guess we did. I guess we just have no more penalty luck. So you could say something?
I'm thinking now we can talk about the first half of regular time, and then we start to work our way back into the later stages of the game. Because the first 45 minutes, we talked about it, Saz, in our halftime meetup. Aside from the second goal, which, famous last words, we got everything we wanted out of that first half. I was really proud with how the Quakes were playing. They started half their usual starters. They started Roberts, Floriani, it was Ricketts, Buddha, and Judd. Those were the rotated players in, but none of them really missed a step. I think Roberts had a few moments where he looked like maybe the weak link in defense, but even he started to grow in confidence defensively. Ricketts had the step-overs with the shot, and of course Chicho Arango with that all-important goal. What were some other favorite parts watching that first half? We can start with Saz, go to Tuan, and Abram if you caught any of that.
Yeah, mine starts before the match. The opposing team warms up on my section of the field, so usually me and Caleb give a really hard time to the keeper, but like in a fun way, like we're not being like actually rude. Stuver was great, dude. He was like chatting with us, and he was funny. And then I'm like, "Yo, do you have a rotation lineup or whatever?" And he goes like, "Rotation." I'm like, "Oh, us too." And then I go, "Yeah, Espinosa's not starting today." And then he turns around and he goes, "Thank God." Like he says it like that. So that was really funny. Yeah, I think I'll start at the back three. I'm really impressed with all the kids. I got to be honest. They all. Actually, I won't put Mooney in this. The other two, each made mistakes, no doubt, like some rookie mistakes, like just like some things they do need to clean up on. But I would say for like 90% of the game, I'm like, do I actually prefer these three being out and just kind of letting them learn the hard way, like in a couple games? I think actually for me, I think Floriani was the weak of the three. I think he got bailed out from the ref a couple times on a couple different plays, and he just made some passes across the middle that they just Vasquez made some bad touches on. I think Jamar has definitely improved a lot. I think some of the positioning was a lot better, and then just he's so good attacking for us. I was a little disappointed with DeJuan Jones. I still haven't been too impressed with him. I don't think it's been bad, but I haven't been necessarily like impressed, if that makes sense. I thought LaRue was on for a great game. And then when Mark Anthony came on, who I think's been having a really poor season, I couldn't believe it. But I talked to Bo after the game. He said he had tightness and he needed to be subbed anyway. So that was that makes a little more sense. And we only had the one midfielder, and I get why you would bring Mark Anthony Kaye for his experience. I thought Harksey had a good game per usual. I'm trying to think who else was up there. And then it was Buddha, who I thought had a solid game. Chicho, I thought Chicho was on for like 18, like a hat trick. Unfortunate. I thought he had a really good regular time, and then he just got tired. And then I had this convo with Ivan. I think Judd has improved so much, and I think when it's in the final third, he does a lot. Like I think he's really good moving, but good lord, when our defenders have the ball, he is useless. He just stands there, like in the center. He does not come out and create option. There's so many times where the wide player gets wide, and if Judd would just run into that space or check in, and then the other wide player could go in, we could create so many opportunities and get out from the back, and we just like don't have that option whatsoever. Ivan put it great, and I fully agree. It's like he's a great 15-minute guy. Like last 15 minutes, they're tired, just push him, and maybe get that little tap in.
Right.
So that'd be my first regular time.
And then for Daewon Jones, so when you say you're not impressed by him overall or offensively or defensively?
Uh, I and no fault to his own. Um, I think we're all just acting like he's all star caliber right now, and I'm just uh, using all as a broad term, but I think he's been very labeled as like, look at what we brought in, this, that, the other, and it's just been okay performances. I think a couple times he offensively takes too long, or like he'll lose a ball or do whatever. I think it's definitely an like upgrade from having Costa, even though he's not the one that replaced Costa. And I think Ivan's made the best point of anyone. It allowed Espinoza to go further up the pitch. I think that's the best thing he's provided. Um, I just think he's been solid. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I think he's been sevens. Like he hasn't been great, he hasn't been bad.
Okay, that's fair. And maybe the fact that the best thing we can say about Daewon Jones is his ability to put Christian Espinoza into a more advantageous role means that Daewon Jones himself, he's a good player, but he's more so helping out Espinoza rather than his own performance shining, right?
He's a role player, like in my eyes, and like you need that. Like I think the best teams are not because of the superstars you have. It's when your role players are being really really good role players, and he's doing a great job being a role player, and that's why for me it's like I haven't been impressed because I was like the way it's been like phrased and everything. It's like another like powerhouse we're getting thrown in here. I'm like he's great. I keep him in starting lineup. I like it. Been good, but it's like for me it's like I haven't been like impressed where I'm like, dude, how did we steal this pick?
Yeah. And the one thing I will say though is that I feel like that performance from Daewon Jones last night, I saw like best case scenarios for him defensively and offensively. He made multiple really good runs on offense, and even on defense, he was very level headed and made the right decisions when backed into a corner, won some throw ins for the Quakes. But yeah, overall, you're right. Maybe looking back, that we need to pump the brakes just a little bit in terms of the evaluation of Daewon Jones. Tuan, any first half moments stand out for you?
Uh, I think it was Ricketts' performance. I think he did really well, just throughout the game in general. And I think he showed he should play showed Bruce he should play more maybe. And yeah, I love to see him play. I wish he made that goal when he was running into the box. He should have scored that. It would have been a nice clip for an edit that I can make, but unfortunately, no, he didn't make that. But that's what I'd say.
To be fair to Ricketts, I think that Stuver had the advantageous angle to make the save, but yeah, that would have been an incredible goal. And
Also, Stuber had a fucking night. Like
Oh,
I
yes.
gotta like clap it up. Like that dude. Like, and I'm not just saying because he was like super nice to us beforehand. Like especially in overtime, I saw like 3 point blank saves where he just went like that. Like I even said to Caleb before the game, I said I looked at him, I said this is the best warm up I have seen from a goalkeeper in MLS. Like because I only see the opposing one, so I haven't really seen Daniel. Because they all kind of do the same drills. He changed it up a little bit, but I'm like his reaction times and everything. I'm like he was on for a good game, like straight from the warm up.
especially within the last decade and a half, I think that Brad Stuver is the best American MLS goalkeeper without a senior national team appearance. It's honestly shocked that he never even got one, because usually if you're at least an above average MLS goalkeeper with an American passport, you get a look. But Stuver, despite not getting that opportunity, anytime I watch Austin, not just against the Quakes, just in general, that I can understand why he was the captain for this match in the U.S. Open Cup. I can understand why he's looked at one of Austin's best players and he's thought fondly of by We Are Austin TV and any other Austin fan that we talk to. And I do feel like the quality of goalkeepers gets a little bit unnoticed in Major League Soccer because they are below par defenses compared to the talent that's attacking in this league. But in terms of the goalkeepers, and maybe they get a lot of practice because of that attack defense disparity, but I feel like more teams out of the 30 in MLS have good goalkeepers than just like replacement level ones.
Yeah, the only other name I would throw out there, and I think he maybe has had like one appearance, and plus I don't know if he'd want to represent the U.S. national team or if he'd rather represent Switzerland. Stefan Fry, who also shout out, hope he's doing all right because that was crazy if you guys saw the head injury he suffered right at the end of the game. So I hope he's doing well. But yeah, Stephen Fry would be another name I throw there. But absolutely agree with everything you said. Stuper's the other one, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to add on to the. I haven't talked in a minute. I opened my mouth. I was like, "Wow, it's been a minute." No. The talk about Brad Stuver. I wanted to join in because, no, I mean the type of saves he was making were what was impressive. Because the mark of a good keeper, like keepers, they go through training. They can make those saves where they jump across the goal and get to the top corners. Like those are great and they're beautiful saves. But the mark of a great goalkeeper is those saves where you don't even see it happen. Those saves where you just split second reaction, put their hand up, stops like super hard shots. Like Martinez should have had a goal or two. Like he was getting off some really good shots that would have gone in, but just the reaction time that Stuver had, he won them the game, no doubt.
He also had good hands. Sometimes you find a keeper who's okay at parrying and stuff, but they can't catch anything. And it's like sometimes it's like, yeah, he made a good save, but dude, you could have caught that. Like now we gotta like deal with an attack again. Like solid, a 10 out of 10 performance, maybe 9 out of 10 if I were to rewatch and find something critical here or there.
Yeah, I think Brad Stuver was such a key player for them, especially when the circumstances that took Brandon Vasquez out of the game, and that's probably going to be the next talking point in just a moment. To add to the Stephen Fry mention, of course, we are so happy that he is doing well after that scary injury on Sunday when they played Columbus. He was called up once to the U.S. men's national team by Bruce Arena, of all people, in 2017. So there you go. It was a nice little reunion of sorts, perhaps, pre-game. But injuries, unfortunately, really plagued this game, and it could have been an even larger story. Thankfully, Ricketts was a minor one. I don't think he's going to miss time. And LaRue, hopefully, it was precautionary as well. But the big ones, of course, Brandon Vasquez and Christian Espinoza. We'll start with Brandon Vasquez, and we can go across the room here. Twan, your reaction when you saw that?
No, yeah, it was crazy. I didn't really expect that. I saw him fall down, and I was like, "Oh, what happened?" Because I looked away for 1 second, and I see him on the floor. I was like, "What the heck just happened to him?" And then I see later on the internet that, what injury was it? ACL or ACL injury?
ACL, yeah, I think that was.
Jesus, yeah, but is
So he's gone a year.
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's what I got from that.
Abram says, any other thoughts on
Yeah.
Vasquez?
I mean, I've only had minor ACL injuries. Nothing. I've never ripped those ligaments, thank God. But when you see an injury like that where it looks like nothing happened, those are the ones that you're almost like, oh, he might not play. Like we had terrible injuries like the JT injury where that's a very big, event. You see what happened there, and it's no question. When you see a guy just like change direction, then immediately fall down, clutching his knee, that's where you're like, oh, that's not normal. That's not good. Like that's a really impactful injury on him.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. Sorry to go on a little tangent here. I just remembered something that is legit. This might be one of my proudest moments. Look, we all know how silly I am. We know I be yelling the craziest things at players. I'm always just trying to get them to get a laugh. No one's gonna believe me except the people that were there. I swear on everything. I put it not only on this Espinoza jersey, but I put it on my Tommy Thompson jersey right here. So that's how you know this is a real event. I am not making this up for the camera. You guys aren't even gonna believe me. Last night I got Bruce Arena to laugh. I got Bruce Arena to laugh. We were so shocked. I said it, and I looked away because whenever I say anything to Bruce, it's just like he smiled, got a little chuckle, and someone went, "Did we just get a Bruce laugh?" It wasn't even that great. Like he was coming out, and he's like, I did my usual Bruce Arena chant. He comes by, it was kind of quiet. And I'm like, Bruce, I know you can't say it because you'll get fined, so I'll say it for you. Fuck those refs. And then he just starts giggling, and we couldn't believe it.
I mean,
sorry. As soon as you said he played for Bruce, I remember that.
I mean that's the way to his heart, right? Because he's always commenting on the ref, and I mean, for me personally, when I'm in the press box, I'm like, I'm not going to talk about the refs because I don't want to be the guy who gets him fined. But no, that it was atrocious, and he was definitely he wishes he could say that straight up.
While we're on this lighthearted subject, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a trivia challenge. So there were 8 outfield players between Austin and Quakes that played all 120 plus minutes. So we can go in a set order. We can start Twan, then Saz, then Abram, and you can just take guesses, and we'll see in how many guesses you can get all 8. So Twan, whenever you're ready, you can start us off.
If I'm being honest, I don't know any of the Austin players' names, so I guess you got to go with someone else. I'm sorry.
How about we start with just the Quakes players then? You want to name?
Oh,
them
Quakes
four
players? I think. Ooh, obviously, Daniel, right?
Outfield players.
Oh, outfield.
Oh,
Oh, my
okay.
fault. I'm tripping. Wait, Chicho, right?
Yes, Chicho is one of
Okay.
them, and I don't think that was
Chicho.
part of the plan, but he had to stay out there due to Espinoza.
Yeah.
I sure don't think I could name most of these.
Dwan Jones.
Dewan Jones, yep, he stayed out there all 90.
Okay. It's not Rick. It's not Larue. Damn.
We can pass one on to Abram.
Yeah.
As
Pass
he's
him, pass
confident
him,
that he
pass
can
him.
clean up.
Muni.
Muni, yep, and then
Is it
Zach.
8? 8 like across the board, or just 8 Quakes players?
I believe there were 5 actually, so 5 Quakes players. So there's 2 left.
God. Okay,
Blake
so
and Harks.
I said Muni.
Yeah, Harks is the other.
Harks. Okay, Harks.
I'm
Right.
pretty sure I know the other one, but if you want to go for it.
Okay, 1 second. Let me. I'll give you this if I can't think of it. Okay, Buddha started. Buddha? No, he got taken off, huh? Okay, one more try. Who was on the left? Okay, Chicho
Do
was
you
on
want
the
the
left.
position?
Huh?
You want the position?
Yeah.
Defender.
Okay, Reed Robert.
At least I think.
There you go.
I don't know why I thought, because he usually subbed on, so I was like, no, he came on. I was just like, he can never start a game for some reason in my mind.
My whole thing was like, all right, I know Espinoza got hurt. I know I got all the hurt players out of the way, and then I'm like, okay, who took the penalties? And I remember saying we shouldn't have had Chicho take it because he was 120. My boy Ian Harks is like my favorite player, one of my favorite players. So I'm like, I remember that one. I'm like, Rodriguez is the only defender who got subbed on, and then
Yeah.
we had the like weird switch of like Mark Anthony K coming on to like defense, like center back for a while, and oh my god, that fucking challenge he made on the second one. But anyways, we'll get to that later.
So
then,
for the
like-
Austin players, if you can name just one of the 4, and here's a hint, he scored on the penalty shootout.
Gun to my family's head, anyone but Brad Stuver, Ilie, and Vasquez because he got injured. I couldn't tell you another player on their team.
Is Heinz Ike?
Heinz Ike is one of them. He wasn't in the shootout, but he did play all 120 minutes. Well done, Abram.
All right, guys, I'll see you later.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming to
I'm
take
great,
on
yeah.
Well done, Abram. You're a winner. The other 3, Biro and the other center back, it was Svatak. So those were the 3 defenders that played all 120. And the penalty shootout hero for Austin, Owen Wolf. He was the other one that played 120.
That was a good question. I like that. We need to do more trivia games.
Yeah.
I like trivia.
With the
Though, so
5
it's a little better.
substitution rule, it is pretty fascinating to see which players actually stay on for the whole 90 or 120 because now, it's half the team essentially that gets subbed.
I have a trivia question. How many stitches did Christian Espinosa require in his leg after that dude just swiped his leg with his studs up? How many?
10, yeah.
10. Too many. 10 too many. That was ridiculous. And I don't think we really covered that. Ivan, you were at... who was closer? Who was close? Twan, I think you're closest to your section, right?
No, it wasn't. It was pretty far. It was like.
It was at half field, so technically I.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, but he's up in the box, so like I think it was literally like a perfect triangle around us. To be fair.
I was at home, so I only saw it on camera, and when you guys were sending the pictures, Ivan, just start. What was the vibe like in the press conference? Not the press conference, the press room. Like, what were you guys hearing? Like, what was that like?
There was actually only a handful of us that could see the reaction to because I was in television too for this game. So the press room, the main one, was full for this one. But we were incensed. We were surprised that it was a red, and everyone was looking at it. It was awkward as well when the game ended because I think I forget what his role is, but there was this guy talking to some of the Austin representatives from the media, asking him about the challenge. And I think it was me and Robert Jonas. We were just looking at each other like, "Come on, not right now. Like, we don't need to put them on the spot." But I think that it was just egregious. And credit to Espinoza for not only just getting back up and sticking around a few more minutes before getting subbed off, but he was defending himself. Like, he was trying to show, both pointing to the video board where the replay was happening and to, just anyone who would listen, Austin or Quakes player, like what had happened. And I respect the composure that everyone had in that moment, that there wasn't really a fight. Like, there was some argument, sure, but like not really any shoving. So I'm glad it didn't escalate that much, even though part of us, we like that as soccer fans. But in any case, it was just so strange. Ricketts was dumbfounded in the press conference about that with the 2-inch gash. That's the part that he emphasized. Bruce Arena as well. He was very blunt.
I got a scoop from a player. I won't name him. Not that I think would get him in trouble, but I'm just not gonna name him. I got a scoop from a player after the game on that whole incident. If you guys want to hear it, I sent it in the group.
Go ahead.
But like, yeah. A bunch of the players come out and talk to like the fans after the game. But one of them, we asked like, "Yo, like, what did the ref say on the like?" We asked on a couple, but like we asked the Christian like one first, and then he said, he believed that it was he didn't even say believe. He's like, the tackle was ball first, and then he scraped his knee on the follow through, so that's why he only got a yellow. And then apparently that caused Christian and everyone else to flip out, so that's why you saw Christian kind of like circling him and chasing him, like, because they were like, scrape, look at it. They all just wanted him to look at it. Like, they were like, look at it. And then the player said, he just ran away. Like, he just kept running away. He was too scared to talk to any of us. And then I asked on a couple other instances, because there were a couple other egregious fouls for me. And he's like, he didn't talk to us. He said that was the only time we heard him all game. Like, he refused it. He ran away every play. He was too scared. Did not talk every single like play, which is like, for me, and I feel like now that we're kind of like going into, money. For me, I am someone who, like, whether it be when I was coaching, playing, like, I give the refs a lot of like leeway because I'm like, look, your job sucks. Like, on a good day, you get yelled at a little bit. And like, sometimes from your point of view, you're straight up just gonna miss it. We all have a bad day at the office. Sometimes a player takes a bad touch. Sometimes you get a bad call, right? And I think this is bad on the league to have someone who's only ref 17 games prior to this have a quarterfinal match. I think, and this ref has never coached MLS. Yeah, he's never refed a pro game as far as like MLS and MLS. He averages like an absurd amount of cards every game, penalties, and like that's whatever. Maybe he's just trying to be more strict. I don't think someone should lose their job off of one bad performance. I do think he needs more time before he comes through up here, and I don't think and there's a couple things people were saying online, whatever, like death threats, all that. I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy for like this type. Never okay. And back to the job thing again. I don't think like anyone should lose their job after like one bad performance or whatever. With that being said, 3 players getting, we'll say two players for sure getting a bad injury, and 2 other players, you could call it tightness, whatever, unlucky. As well as the fact you weren't willing to talk to someone, and he was clearly reffing the game. Like, the occasion was too big for him. The penalties, he wanted to get them back in the game. And the yelling and whatever, it overwhelmed him, and he couldn't have a conversation and be like, hey, this, that, the other. The law used to be we could all just kind of yell at that, but to make the refs feel more safe, we've changed it to the captain, because you need to know. It's part of the game, whatever. And you have now shut down your communication, and said player even ends up with a huge gash in his leg, and you aren't even willing to hear that out or see whatever. VAR was pretty much non-existent the entire time off of terrible choices. So that's a center ref not going there. That could be the VAR as well being there. I don't blame the fourth official as much because, as far as I am aware, the fourth official really has very little power. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, it's more of like it's very little power they have. There has been serious injury, and that is just negligence for me, and there needs to be loss of compensation for that game, in my opinion. Like, that's how bad it was, and there needs to be some sort of repercussion. Again, I don't think it should be he should never ref MLS, he should never ref Open Cup, he should never do this or that. He could just had a really bad day and been, like, shitting his pants because it's his 18th game and it's a big game. But again, with that being said, if you mess up, you mess up. There needs to be some sort of repercussion for that.
Ivan, you're making a good point earlier, but I want to say something real quick, just to add emphasis to how egregious that was. In the fallout after the decision to not give a red, to give a yellow. Look, I've never seen Chicho speak English before. Maybe other people have. I have never seen it. But sorry, they're playing in the background. When that happened, you could see on the TV Chicho's like pointing at the video board, and like you could see him say, "You didn't see that? You didn't see that?" You can see it, like, in his mouth. You can read his lips, and like to make Chicho speak English, to bust out the English, you gotta have done something wrong, man. That was crazy.
Yeah, and I was also worried because Chicho was on a yellow that the ref was going to really screw things up and send him off for that, for being justifiably upset. Like, it's one thing if you're yelling, swearing at the ref, or it's something that's not a really big deal, like it's just your standard foul and no harm done to the player. But, like, this was really brutal. Like, it could really set Christian Espinoza on the sidelines for a significant amount of time. Probably not as significant amount of time as Brandon Vasquez based on what we saw from the injury, but that's still really dangerous. It still really hurts. It's major. I will share what I thought about my first warning signs that this was going to be a bad ref game. The inconsistencies exceed a threshold that you would normally expect from your average referee. He couldn't decide whether he wanted to let them play or he was going to call ticky-tack fouls. So that automatically makes it hard to navigate as a player and as someone watching the game, understanding the logic or lack thereof of the calls being made. It almost felt like every 5 minutes, especially in the second half and beyond into extra time, that he was trying to dictate the flow of game if he was making those conscious decisions on his own or if he just lost the plot at some point. And that's the extent of what I have to say. We covered the feelings that I had. You said them very well, Stas, about the Espinoza incident. And yeah, it was pretty exhausting and very frustrating to see that ref performance. Any other thoughts on that big incident and the ref as a whole?
Real quick, I mean, I'll let Saz go in a second, but I just want to say that, like, Saz mentioned that he never refed at the MLS level, and I felt like that was apparent when every time anyone had any little bit of contact, it was a call right there and there. He was, really messing with the flow of the game. And it was just you could tell that like he wasn't very experienced at this particular thing, because at this level there's going to be a lot of contact. There's going to be a lot of 50-50s, people just bumping into each other, and not all of those are fouls. Every time Chicho got near the ball, foul. Every time like Hart got near the ball, foul. It was just every time it was just one after the other, and it seemed to be more heavily on us than on them, and it was just. So not even just the big things. He did a lot of big things wrong, but a lot of little things as well, too.
Twan, do you have anything to add for
that? I agree with all of you. Like, the referee with like 17 matches, nothing. Like, I'd rather have the guy that said whatever or however coaching this game. I don't even know how many matches he's done, but it pisses me off. I don't want to say anything further because I might say something I want to regret. But
I'm also someone who personally believes like nothing is ever 100% one fault. So I am willing here. I always think there's always like two sides of a story as well. So I will say, I think the AR. I don't know about the guy AR on the side, but I will say I think the girl AR over on the left side. I think she had a great game. I think she made a lot of really good calls and like saw some things. So I'll give her that. This wasn't just a solo him performance of being bad. The VAR not stepping up, the league giving it to him a little early, and again, I don't really know how much fourth official can really do, so I don't know how much I want to blame him. The Chicago game before this, there were some horrendous calls. I only got to see a couple minutes of that. There were some god awful calls in there too. So across the board, some bad refereeing. As far as the inconsistency, there was a lot. I think Ivan touched beautifully on it. Here are some examples that stick out in my mind that are frustrating to me. And here's why I'm willing to give him a little leeway. We'll talk about the two penalties. The first one, I believe it's Floriani who goes in for the dive. Floriani makes contact, the guy falls down. You can call that a penalty. It's very soft. He clearly was going and falling and diving, but you called the penalty. Fair, Floriani made contact if that's the game we're playing. Christian Espinoza later is coming down in the box. Guy comes from behind, gets a fistful of jersey, makes contact with him that makes him trip up and fall. But on that one, he was looking for contact. So that's two examples where you're picking. That's one example where you're picking and choosing the law. Here's one as well as like Austin had it bad too. If I was an Austin fan, this would have pissed me off. I think we got lucky. It happened to Floriani 3 times, almost like 3 plays in a row. But this one is like the funniest one of it all. Floriani gets the ball, takes a bad touch, he's getting pressed by a forward. And then as he's running forward and the forward gets near him, he just falls on top of the ball. Gets a foul call. Happened a ton of times to him. But what's funny about this one I'm talking about is from the dead ball, Floriani plays a long ball to Chicho, who then takes a touch. It's a bit of a heavy touch, runs, and as the defender gets near him, falls on top of the ball, and they call it a handball. It's the exact same play, but at two different ends. Like, you're calling it where it is. So the law of the game is the law of the game. And, like, I get sometimes you gotta take a little into account, and, like, it's whatever, and it works in our favor for a much more important section. That's two examples of inconsistency. Other examples of law of the game that I didn't understand. Preston Judd was fouled against the last man. There was no red card. 2 or 3 of our players went shoulder to shoulder, but it was a bit aggressive. They call a foul. Back to the Christian Espinoza one. Even though he did come from behind, I had a good view of it. I'm willing to give the referee the benefit of the doubt and say he thought they were level, and then he went shoulder to shoulder on that one penalty I was talking about earlier. But my thing is, if you called the shoulder to shoulder on the other ones and said it was an aggressive foul, this one was an aggressive foul as well. So that, for me, were some examples of egregious level play. And even though if you are refereeing this level, you had to have either played soccer at a decent level or at least refed it, like, gone through enough things, you clearly, to me, have no soccer IQ, because there were a couple decisions throughout that were shockingly bad. Again, we all take a bad touch, we all have a bad game, we all have a bad day, right? But the one thing that was consistent was the consistency of, that's not in the laws of the game, that isn't, like, and just to be at a pro level and hold yourself to that, I was irate during the match. Like, I had literal anger, so when Benji scored that goal, I let, like, a primal scream out. Like, if anyone wants to make an edit of this in Daredevil Season 3, where they're talking about, like, primal screams, and, like, he just lets that scream, that was me when Benji got that goal. 'Cause I was just so angry, because I feel like we were being cheated. And again, Austin fans were having it bad, too. I even said to Stuver, I'm like, hey, like, during overtime, like, Stuver, you're having a great game, but this ref sucks for both teams. Like, they were getting some bad, like, I'm not going to act like we were the only ones getting bad calls there, but unfortunately, and go back Ivan's very beginning point, they made the penalty, so good to them. Stuver had a great game. Unfortunately, the bad calls for them may have led to some chances or some other things, especially the Floriani ones I mentioned. Totally hold my hands up for that. Ours were both penalties. And our other one we didn't get was a red card. Two examples. The Preston Judd one I'm willing to call foul. You want to give that a yellow, whatever. The Christian one is a red all day, studs up, this, that, the other. So that one in particular, again. So that's two red cards we could have, and again, both teams can play the this, that, the other, but one glaring red card and two penalties that you then didn't give the other way. That's what makes it so frustrating for me.
My last thoughts on the game is essentially it felt like it was an uphill battle for 75 plus minutes. If it wasn't for all those poor decisions, it was also the amount of shots we had to generate just to get looks on target. There was two sequences where we had 4 or 5 shots in before the ball either went out of play in the first instance, and then that was the Benji Kikanovic goal in the second instance. And then all 3 instances, the 2 penalties within the gameplay and then the penalty shootout, where we just needed something to happen for us, such as, Daniel ends up getting, the right guess. He did guess right on the second one, but he wasn't able to find the contact to make the save. And then some sort of luck in the penalty shootout. It just felt like what could have been our day ended up being so blatantly, this is not in the cards for the Earthquakes to win this game. And that's why it's just a frustrating way to go out of a very important competition for U.S. soccer and for us personally as fans of the club.
100%. I have 2 more points, but I've been talking a ton. So, Abram, do you have anything you'd like to?
No, I actually was just gonna, point out something you said earlier. But real quick, like I said, we would be happy if we heard at the beginning of the season that Bruce was going to take us to a quarterfinal guaranteed and be in a playoff spot by this point of the season. But we didn't. I don't think necessarily we knew how good we would be and how that really hasn't translated as well. Like we've been, I feel like, what's that word? I was trying to find the word, but we've been hard done a few times, in my opinion, and in very consequential circumstances. Besides just this game, I felt like it's happened a few times this season. I've been talking about how like the referees are a problem. Lucci talked about it, how it's because it's the San Jose Earthquakes and nobody cares about us, or what are we going to do about it, right? And they're just, I'm tired of that rhetoric here. I don't want to have to deal with that on top of everything else that we have to deal with. I just want to watch us play football and have a great time. But unfortunately, it seems like we're often the victims of petty things like this that, don't necessarily have to do with how good we are at football or not.
I still firmly believe, what comes up must come down. Even with a very bad refereeing night that was, every fan of every sports team in the world is always going to believe that the refs have to get them if they let them. Sometimes you just got to accept that calls aren't going your way. That's going to try to be the mentality I move forward with, as much as it is hard to, with how important this game was and the consequences of losing that game in the way that we did. We don't get a chance to move on to the semifinals. Yeah, fixture congestion, but at this point, there's only 2 more games left that I could have added on. So the benefits outweighed the negatives in terms of scheduling. But that's what we have to do, and unless you have any other final thoughts, Tuan, we're going to shift the focus on to the next 3 games in quick succession for Major League Soccer play.
No, yeah. I feel like if this happened to any other player, Messi, I feel like I think changes would have happened, and a lot of more conversations also would have happened, because everybody loves Messi.
If that happened to Messi, that ref would have been publicly executed at the halfway line.
Yeah, you would have been seeing a lot of Argentinian and
Don
Spaniards.
Garber would have came out and personally done it. But yeah, continue.
But yeah, I mean, it's just it has to be the Earthquakes, and we're the dark horse every single year. It's just unfortunate. That's it.
From dark horse to dark horse pick to do something this season, though, so there's still some hope.
Some quick thing I just wanted to say to wrap it up. I totally meant to say this one earlier in the podcast and completely forgot. I want to give a shout out to one of the fans, one of our listeners, Ned, I believe his name was. He came up to me and Ivan during the game. Used to be a teacher. Was super cool, super nice guy. So if you're still listening to this, Ned, sup, you're super cool. If you're not Ned, you can leave a sup, Ned, in the comments. The other one is like, God, dude, why like the fans? Like, I understand. Me as well. I was mad as well, and at the ref, I was mad as well. As someone who's gone to a lot, not a lot, but like a handful at least of what would be considered away games, as a fan, just leave the away fans alone. Like, leave them alone. Like, I came up to a couple different times again. I wasn't there the whole time, so maybe the Austin fans started it with talking shit or something. But even if they are, it's like sometimes it's just like a mom and like her kids, like, and they're like, oh yeah, we got y'all. Like, let them have it, dude. Like, they get to see their team once, maybe twice, and maybe if you're really lucky and it's like a rival 3 times a year in person. Let them have it. Let them go. Like, please do not start fighting. Like, they didn't make the calls. They didn't do it. They're just supporting a team. Like I remember when I was in Seattle and I supported the Quakes. The amount of like 90% of them were so nice to me, or like it was like a bantery kind of like teasing. Like if they tease me, they give me a little wink after, or like if they did something stupid and we did something good, they look around and be like, I know. But there were a couple guys that came up to me and like were personally taking it out of me. I'm like, dog, I'm watching the team with 3 wins. I'm sorry they scored, right? So just a reminder to support the fans. And then my final point on the game, this kind of wraps, that can segue us on to our next following games, and it's kind of a highlight of our last game. Mark Anthony K, dude, it is just lovely human being from the times I've gone and talked to him. I really enjoy talking to him. It is 3 steps too slow. It's just that's where I'll leave it because I've said it enough times. But everything is so slow and off the pace and just wrong decision making.
I think I'm starting to see what you see with Mark Anthony K. I feel like his performances early in the season were at least passable, but in particular, the last 5 games or so with Mark Anthony K is concerning because we do rely upon him to be a chief defensive sub to shore up the midfield. And if you're coming into the game, you need to have the fresh legs. And it feels like he's already played the game when he's subbed on sometimes. And I get it. I think he's 30, so it's not like you're subbing on a 22-year-old. So you have some difference of expectations, but at the same time, you haven't been playing as much as 80% of the people on the field when you come on in those situations. I am hoping that he can get it together, and at least I don't think that he's directly contributed to any goals that have been conceded lately. But just because you're not the problem doesn't mean you're the
I would argue the first goal today with the pass and the turnover and the open space he left over LaRue. And you know what? I'm gonna say something crazy. You want my tectonic take? We know how much I talk about Costa. I'd rather Costa than him. I said it. I'd rather Costa than Mark Anthony K. I gotta be completely honest. Here's the thing. Mark Anthony K might be great in the locker room for us. And you know what? If that is, give him a coaching position or maybe just keep him on the bench every game, never let him play. If that is what it is. Costa is really, has gotten to the point where a good performance for him is 30 to 40 minutes of just not messing up. That's a good performance for Costa, and we get those every once in a while. Mark Anthony K, literally, we are down. Not only are we down a man when he comes on the field, they have an extra man. It's gotten to that point for me.
I feel like it's a little bit much. I just disagree. I don't think that he's been amazing for us. I think that this has been a very bad game for him. I think that he's been probably disappointing. There, like Ivan said early in the season, I think that he looked pretty good, and then his performance started to decline. But definitely not excited when I see him come out at this point, and that's probably most. There was a really bad game. He conceded a penalty. That tackle was egregious, right? And I just disagreed with Saz about no, but that was an egregious foul when you didn't have to do it. You just stay in the way. You can't take the shot. You done your job, right? But no, he had to come and take him out, and that was ridiculous. But no, I think that we got to be a little bit chill. Yeah, especially because
it's just driving me insane. And honestly, it's not even his fault. It's Bruce for putting him out there. Here is how Mark Anthony K plays. He will get the ball, and he has the most comfortable. He takes it, he looks up, and he tries slowing down the pace and going at his pace, like as if like he is like like Pirlo, honestly, where it's like I'm gonna slow it down and dribble at my pace and go and try and find that play, and I'm gonna be the clear. And it looks all right if it works, but the thing is, it's just he gets pressed and then it's a ball, and then he doesn't have the reaction time to like quite get there, especially because he's a bigger guy. Like, and I'm 6'3". I understand. I don't move as quick as those five guys. I get the struggles of that. But then it's like he'll look around and see if someone's there. Then he'll try and like run back a little when he's not there, and the positioning's not there. It's just a step slow. No, it's just time. Leave the game before the game leaves you.
I agree with that.
Squad, and you miss him that much, Saz.
No,
I'm taking Andy Rios at this point. Give me Fierro again.
no, you're going crazy at this point. No, I agree that maybe the way that Kay likes to play, like you said, like a Pirlo, he doesn't quite have that range of passing that you would need for someone who's like playing the way he does, like a Regista, just like calming down, and then it doesn't fit how the rest of us want to play. The rest of the team, I mean, where they were fast paced, right? They're very quick, and in the midfield, we don't usually hold it on in the midfield. We play it like as soon as we get in the midfield, we play it to someone else and try and get something happening. And it is a little bit frustrating when Mark Anthony Kay comes in and just becomes like, mud, just slowing that down. On the other end of the spectrum, I think that he provides decent depth, and I think that he's pretty good defensively most of the time. This was a very bad example and a very bad time for me to be defending him, especially because I'm not even that big of a fan. I just think that's just a little bit heavy on him.
I feel like he so many times, especially after he's played like 15 minutes, like it is a late challenge and a foul in an important area too. Here's the grace I'm willing to give him. We are not playing a system for him. He needs like a play through the midfield. Like there's 2 or 3 other guys in there with him. And I think this system is a rough system to be in a center mid, and I've said it a couple times. I think that's why LaRue and Harkes have been doing better in it, because Harkes is just a workhorse that goes around, and LaRue is the kid's phenomenal. We all are in agreement on that. And I think this is just he's trying to play his way in a system that doesn't play through the middle and tries to charge through the wings.
100%. I fully agree with that.
So, the last quick related question I have for each of you is Minnesota away, Dallas and Sounders at home. I feel like Minnesota, as much as the Quakes are good enough to beat anyone right now, I feel like there are just certain matchups on a calendar that are a scheduled loss, and it's up to you to change that fate. And the main motivation for this game is Minnesota was going to be your opponents in the semifinal. So show them what they were missing. Make them be glad that Austin won that game by giving them a hard-ass game on Saturday. I'm not expecting anything. Hopefully we get a draw on that one. For Dallas, that's a must-win game. Dallas are now firmly below you in the table. If any of these 3 games are must-win, that's the one where you got to get full 3 points. And ideally, you keep this strong record against Seattle going and win that game too, but we know anything can happen in the Heritage Cup. So I'll ask each of you, how many points do you think out of 9 we could get from that haul, knowing that it's another tough turnaround? Tuan, we can start with you.
If I'm being honest, we could get all 9. It's possible to get all 9, and but if we do, it sounds weird to me, but I kind of want them to lose against Minnesota, because if we win, we're gonna be like, oh well, we could have just went on to the final. You know what I'm saying? And that would like kind of, I don't know, it would be a stain. It'd make me even more mad that we lost against Austin. But no, Dallas, I think that's a 100% win, and then Seattle is maybe another 1-1 draw. In reality, if you're gonna ask me, but yeah, so.
I guess I'll go next. No, I mean, 9 isn't out of the picture. If you watch Twan, he's like 100% earthquakes every game. Yeah, if you have to follow Twan on TikTok, he's like, they think we're gonna lose against so and so every game, and he just backs us every time. But I'm a podcast guy. I gotta provide a little bit more analysis. I'm thinking Minnesota is going to be a harder game than Dallas. I think that at home we beat Dallas 4-2 not that long ago. Like we should theoretically be able to do that again. I think that we might struggle a little bit if Espinosa is not able to come back due to his stitches. But I'm not an injury guy. I don't know how that's going to go. But that is going to be very impactful for how the Quakes do in the next 3 games. The Seattle game, I'm thinking, like Twan said, that's a good call, actually, a 1-1. I'm expecting, um, I would say 6 points sounds a little strong. Maybe, I don't know, a good amount of points. 5 points maybe, 6-5, I don't know.
Sorry, I'm a visual. I need to see the next games. Minnesota at Minnesota lost. They just they could be the worst team in the league. They could be the best team in the league. They just somehow find a way to beat us. And they're having a hell of a season. And then that's a quick turnaround midweek game for us in Dallas. A home game. Okay, if that was an away game, I'd say we lose. I think the result on Wednesday is dependent on the result on Saturday prior and who we play, because we are looking thin right now. I think we had that compact May or March, and then we're like, oh, okay, we got the 2 weeks off, we're going to be good, and then we just had some really bad injuries in this last game. Again, like Espinosa trying to figure out Jamar going out is like at what seemed would have been the next month of getting some Jamar minutes. I also gotta give a shout out. I've been a big Nick Lima hater. I thought that was like a hell of a performance he had. I thought he was putting in great balls. He was getting back defensively. That like, and not to harp on K again, but like that when I want to bring in a veteran and experience and someone that you're like, okay, they've been in positions like this. Lima performed what I would have wanted from K in that scenario. I think the Sounders, because I think with Fry out, like their backup's actually pretty solid, but Fry is a big loss. I think that actually is, even though it is in Seattle. Ooh, actually it's in Seattle. Because I was going to go I think full lineup, we win 2-1. But I'll go the 1-1 draw. But if it's in Seattle, I'm almost edging a 1-0 loss, but I'll go with the 1-1 draw to be with everyone.
Oh yeah, I got that wrong. Yeah, it is in Seattle. I might have said that was a home game. So yeah, fair enough.
In Seattle, I almost want to go the 1-0 loss. I feel like we've been a little worse on the road, especially with these rotations. Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 loss. And then I'm going to go, depending on the Wednesday will depend if we don't do a full lineup on Saturday and we have a full lineup for Dallas, we win. Otherwise, I think that's a draw. And then Minnesota, I think, is a loss. But I wouldn't be shocked if Dallas was a loss.
And keep in mind, we don't have DeWanjo. I know Sazo thinks DeWanjo is like super.
No, that's an important piece. No, you're 100% right. That is an important piece to having Espinosa go. And then again, it's a solid piece. It's
for sure.
It's a great role player. Yeah.
I was just giving you a hard time. No, don't worry about
it. Yeah. No. Oh god. Oh, dude, we're gonna have to start Mark Anthony K.
We might have to, but I know that we're approaching the end of our recording session here. There's no easy way to talk about it, but this is the first time we've gathered in this podcast since the tragic news of Diogo Jota. So I do want to mention that, of course, we joined the entire world, not just the soccer or football world, but pretty much the world in mourning that loss. And also mentioning, for everyone who lost their lives in the floods in Texas too, especially since our opponents were Austin. We are happy for the Austin fans because I'm sure many of their friends and families might have been affected by that. So it is a soccer game when all is said and done, but sometimes you can take a little bit of a 2-hour, 3-hour break and enjoy from when your team pulls through for that. So yeah, there are some big things that happened, and we just wanted to acknowledge that. And we appreciate all of you being here, listening to us. We appreciate you being here with us, Twan. I hope you had a good time talking with us.
No, I had a great time. It's always a pleasure being on here when I can. But yeah, just thank Abraham for inviting me in the first place. And yeah.
Tuan, real quick, where can the people find you?
They can find me on TikTok. That's the only platform I'm on currently, but I plan to expand more as time passes on. Um, that's it.
Well, make sure to leave a link in the description. So go check down there if you're interested in Tuan's content.
Yep.
I will not be in the next podcast. I'll be supporting another Bay Area team, my first Valkyries game in person, but I look forward to being back here in 2 weeks. And I know whoever among the Tectonic Takes community is holding down the fort next week will do a great job. And then I'll talk to you again soon. But from all of us here, between Tuan and the Tectonic Takes, go Quakes and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for listening.
Go Quakes.